Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants hangout. My name is Joe Grabowski. I'll be your host for today. And I'm really excited to be taking another trip to the Ripley's Aquarium of Canada in Toronto, Ontario. Special treat today. We're going to be joined by Danielle and Kaitlyn, and they're going to be talking about the different species of seahorses at the aquarium. We're also going to get to learn a little bit about their life histories, and we're going to get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes of how they rear the newborn. So I'm really looking forward to today. I know you guys are as well. Let me turn it over to Danielle and Kaitlyn. Good morning. How's everybody?
Oh, we are good. The aquarium is just opened a few minutes ago, and we have a whole bunch of seahorses. So what you've been looking at for a little while are the babies. Now, if I put my finger on the screen, I have pretty small hands, but as you can see, the seahorses are much smaller than my hands. They are around a centimeter, which if you're not very familiar with a metric, it's around a ½ inch long. So they're very small. These little guys are our smallest seahorses that we have here. And we're in the backup area for the seahorses. There's piranhas over here, and we have some living coral over there, but it all just looks like tanks. And this here is Kaitlyn. Kaitlyn looks after the seahorses. So we've had lots of success breeding our seahorses. These are the lined seahorses. And these guys have somewhere between 200 and 700 babies at one time. Now, you might have heard that seahorses have a fairly interesting... no! What happened? I somehow got signed out. I don't know what happened.
We can still hear you. We just lost the camera feed.
Oh.
Do you want to try and log out and come back in?
Actually, I think I figured it out. I must have accidentally turned off the video. Okay. I was just trying to... Oh. Can't see me. Oh, there we go. Okay. So sorry about that. So I just wanted to get a new angle from the side so you can actually see seahorses a little bit better. That's kind of blurry. But there are many little babies here, and you probably did hear, oh, there we go. You probably did hear that seahorses have a little bit different family structure than we do as humans. So these guys, they have, the babies are actually born by the dad. So the female will give the babies to the dad, and he fertilizes them, and then he births the babies. So sometimes we regularly get some pregnant males, and they give us some newborn babies. And the really sweet thing about these guys is they actually mate for a season or a lifetime. So they'll stay together forever, and they will never, ever get divorced, which is very, very happy. I think they're very sweet. And sadly, our babies are not being fed right now. Their food isn't ready yet. But normally, they're going to be eating very, very small food because their mouths are very, very tiny at this point. Want to go see? Yeah. So we do have some food for our larger babies. So the ones you were just looking at are between 4 weeks and 7 months old. And these ones over here are bigger. Give us some food. So, Kaitlyn, what are you feeding them today?
This is chopped up enriched frozen mysis.
So if you didn't hear that, that's chopped up enriched frozen mysis. And mysis is a shrimp-like animal. So you can see right here, these little guys. That's my hand.
They're babies, they eat live food, and we're transitioning them onto this frozen food.
Oh, so Kaitlyn was saying when they are babies, they eat live food, and getting older, we transition them to the frozen stuff. So these little seahorses, if you're watching them now, you can see that they have a very, very small snout. They actually can't open their mouths at all. So these animals are in the family called cygnathids, which actually means fused mouth. Open their mouth at all, so they use their mouth like a straw, and they suck in food. And the coolest word that I've learned recently is snick, and that is the process of horse eating. CK, snick. So little seahorses. They get the food inside, and the funny thing is they actually have to constantly eat because they also have no stomach. And they have to eat all the time. Think of an area where the water will always deliver them some nice, tasty treats. They actually have the coast of North America, so all the way, not so much here in Canada because it's kind of chilly here, but all the way south to South America as well. So they're all around on the east coast of our area of the world. And if you look at how they're swimming, very slow. They're not really a fast swimming animal. They have tiny, tiny fins, which we will see a lot better on the adults when we go there. And they have two next to their face and one at the back of their body. And they use those to move themselves around. Not enough really to fight a good current, but enough. And then they use their tail mainly to hold on if there's something big that they have to, like a big current for them to get it, so that they can't get swept up in the water. And these guys, these guys are around 7 weeks old. So you can notice that they're a lot larger than everybody else. So where we currently are in the aquarium is mainly devoted to all the pretty animals in our world. We call it the gallery, and that's why the seahorses live here. But we also have some piranhas around the corner and some larger types of seahorses, well, sea dragons, which are very close relatives to seahorses as well. So we have weedy sea dragons, and we have some cuttlefish and lionfish as well outside. That goes to the big ones. All right, so we're gonna go and see how the big ones are doing. So mind all the pipes. This is a tripping hazard back here. There's a lot around and keep everything alive. So I'm gonna go outside to watch the feeding outside. So this is our aquarium, lovely, beautiful aquarium. And the larger guys, here they are. They're coming to get food. So these are our adult seahorses. These are a mixture of a couple. These guys are getting whole mysis shrimp. So remember how Kaitlyn was feeding the chopped up mysis shrimp before? These are the whole ones. So you can see they're sizably larger. There's a little bit of magnification on this exhibit here because it is a dome shape. I can move back a bit. You can see it's a big giant dome sticking out of the wall. So these seahorses are getting a nice tasty treat of their lovely food. And they, these adults, as you can see right now, are not fully going towards the food yet. They haven't all figured it out, but they'll be coming in a minute. As you can see in the adults, they do look a lot like the babies. They actually keep the same sort of shape throughout their whole lifetime. They have that pointed snout, the long tail, and that big belly. So on the males, they actually just start developing their brood pouch. So it's kind of like a kangaroo, and that's where they keep the babies until they hatch. And this is actually where all of the babies were born, in this exhibit here. So we don't take the adults off exhibit. When they're gonna have babies, we just leave them in here and then we collect the babies. Very adorable. And you can see them suction it right into their mouth. Now, one of the coolest things about a seahorse is that you'd think that they would get predated on and eaten by a whole bunch of different animals, mainly because they're so slow. But if you look in here, there's a good chance you might not see all the seahorses at once because they are so good at camouflaging. They are going to blend in with all of this fake coral that we have in here. And you probably didn't see all of them right away, but there are so many in here. Oh, Kaitlyn was just telling me that the male at the top here is pregnant, so I'm going to try to point right to the one right underneath my finger, the one that's a little bit taller, reaching for the food. Yeah, so he's pregnant right now, which is amazing. And you can see he's got a bigger belly there. And other than these animals are really good at camouflaging. Oh, there's Kaitlyn's got a little arrow. She's got that little pipe. She's pointing right towards the pregnant one. So other than these animals have incredible camouflage abilities, because not only are they this coloration of their natural habitat, but they actually have a strong armor, which makes it so that animals don't really want to eat them. And we actually have some of those on display too. So that's what these are. So this is what a skeleton of a seahorse looks like. And it's kind of like wearing armor all the time. So they have these bony fused plates instead of scales on the outside of their body, which makes them really, really hard to eat. And any animal that's hard to eat, nobody wants to eat anyway. So they would prefer not to. So these guys are really amazing at surviving. And most animals try not to eat them. When they're young, they're just so tiny they can be easily swallowed. But when they're older, not that many animals want to eat them. Not very tasty, and they're too hard to catch because you can't really find them, and eating them is really too much of a challenge. Now, the reason that these animals aren't doing so well in the world is mainly because of us. So we take away their habitat, and we also happen to use their bodies as art. So those skeletons I just showed you, a lot of people have them as just a piece of art, which is not so great. And some other areas of our world actually see horses as a part of making medicine. But on the flip side, at the aquarium, we're doing some great things because we have some babies being born. So we don't actually have to take our seahorses from the wild anymore. So not every aquarium has a breeding program for seahorses, but the ones that we do have, if we are successful enough as breeders, can go off to other aquariums. So we don't have to worry about them disappearing from our world because we're taking them for aquariums, because we don't want to do that. An aquarium is meant to showcase these lovely animals for you and not just to take them out of the ocean, because that would be super sad. We want to learn more about these animals so that you can appreciate them in the future when you grow up and you might want to take care of seahorses and become Kaitlyn. Yeah, so Kaitlyn just reminded me that there are dwarf seahorses, which is one of our other species that we have. And so remember that the ones that I was just showing you are probably about 6 inches long, which is about 12. And these guys here, these are dwarf seahorses. So hopefully my camera will adjust to seeing them in a second. So there is a seahorse. I can see one straight away, but they're so well camouflaged. Oh, one's in the back. So there's one in between. Kaitlyn's got a stick. So there's one there. So you just see the head, and then one down at the bottom is just moving right now. Right, if you go right between the two white shells, right in the middle there. And those are dwarf seahorses, and this is as big as they get. They will not get any larger than this. They are the smallest seahorse in the world that we know of, and they are also the slowest moving animal in the world. And they're really adorable, and as you can see, they use camouflage very much to their advantage in order to survive in their habitat. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention is the easiest way that you can help, because I'm pretty sure you guys aren't going out there and fishing at seahorses or destroying the habitat of the ocean, because I feel like most of you really enjoy these animals and you want them to survive. The easiest way to help out our lovely animals in our world is actually to use your 3 R's, so reduce, reuse, and recycle. So remember, these little seahorses, they are eating tiny, tiny animals, so most often it's zooplankton and other small things that you would find in the ocean, so usually smaller fish, shrimp, anything like that, and they suck it right into their bodies. And plastic, when it breaks down in our ocean, actually looks a lot like their food, so they could suck that up into their bodies, and that is really bad for their digestion. So you can reduce the amount of plastic that you use, recycle as much as you can, and reuse as much as you can as well, so we can help out in our world and make these seahorses very happy. So I'm pretty sure that you guys probably have some questions for us. Then I can turn it over to you.
All right, Danielle and Kaitlyn, thank you so much. That was awesome. Thanks for the behind the scenes look. And it was really cool to watch them eating. That was really cool. All right, let's meet some of our classrooms.
I want to hang out with the other babies over there.
Our first group joining us is in Wisconsin. They're a grade 6 classroom, Mrs. Wisniewski, and your microphone is on.
Anyone got a question? All right, come on up.
In the wild, why don't seahorses go away or move from their neck from where they are at birth?
Could you repeat the question for me?
When seahorses are born, do they travel away from their homes, and why do they do that?
Oh, do they travel away from their homes? Not usually. Seahorses are pretty, not very mobile. And if you're in the open ocean, it's a little bit different than here. Here, if you look in here, only seahorses, no predators. So when they're small, they learn to stay really close to all the structures so that they don't get swept up in the currents and they don't get eaten by anything. And then they just keep the same habits when they're older so that they, nothing happens to them. So they usually don't go too far away from where they were born. But they could get swept away in the currents and then maybe survive in their new home.
All right, great question. Let's meet our next classroom. Mrs. Bendo's group is joining actually from just around the corner from me in Guelph, Ontario. They're a grade 2-3 classroom. And let me turn your microphone on.
Here. If our mic is working, you can say it. If not, I'll, okay.
Can you try again, Mrs. Bendo? The sound's not coming through.
Try now, try.
Now the mic's not cooperating again, so do you want to type your question? Okay. And we'll get it that way if you type it in the blue chat sidebar. But while we wait for that question.
I'm going to try them. Are there different types of, how many different types of species are there?
Oh, how many different types of seahorses are there? In the world, there are about 50, counting because only 50, yeah. But we're still counting because, well, it's hard to tell them apart. They actually can change color and they have many different textures. They change color during their mating procedure sometimes. So there's a lot of
I'm just
trying to figure it out. But here at the aquarium, other than the lined seahorses and the dwarf seahorses, and then we have their leafy sea dragons, and other than those, we actually have some pipefish as well. So we have some dusky pipefish. So they look like a seahorse, except for they swim on their bellies, and they're very skinny. Like very, very skinny. And they all reproduce the same way, where the males carry the eggs and birth them, and they have the tiny snouts and the armored skeletons.
All right, great question. Let's jump to our next class. Mrs. Coates, grade 5s, are joining us from Illinois. And let me turn their mic on.
Okay. There you are. See, you're in the bottom corner. Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Answer the question.
How long does it take for the babies to develop in the male stomach?
Did you catch that? I think that was how long does it take the babies to come out of the male seahorse? Danielle, can you still hear me?
But I did not hear the question.
Oh, it was how long does it take for the males to come out of the babies to come out of the male seahorse?
Oh, how long does it take the babies to come out of the male seahorse? Well, they actually come out really quickly. And then they actually take 21 days-ish to fully develop inside of the men. So they will birth out after that, and they are around long. They're really small, which if you're not familiar with that, that's around ½ an inch.
All right, let's meet our next classroom. We have another classroom joining us from Guelph, Ontario. Mrs. Mullins' grade 3s are joining us. And let me turn your microphone on. There you go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How long have you been working with seahorses for?
Oh, how long has Kaitlyn been working with seahorses? So I'm an educator, and I just talk about all the different animals. Kaitlyn, how long have you been working with seahorses? Kaitlyn's been working with the seahorses for about 4 months. And she has started with jellyfish, and she started here at our aquarium on our dive team because she's a diver. And fun fact, both of us actually met before we started working here. We both went to the University of Guelph and studied marine and freshwater biology.
That's very cool. I went to the University of Guelph as well. All right, let's meet our next classroom. So Mrs. Morin's class was able to get in. They're a grade 3 classroom joining us from Nova Scotia. And your microphone is on.
Why does the daddy have the babies?
Is that why do the dads have the babies?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a different social structure than we have. Is so that the investment in reproduction for a female isn't too overpowering. So if the female develops the eggs and then carries the eggs and has birth to the babies, that's a lot of invested time for a tiny animal like this that has to like hide in the grass. So the men take on a little bit of the responsibility to have the babies. And the reason they have so many is so that there's guarantee at least one survives to the next generation, because they have so many babies and there's a good chance that not all of them will survive. In our aquarium, it's a little bit different because we don't have any predators in the seahorse tank, but in the wild, there's lots of animals, especially fish, that find baby seahorses very tasty. And the adults technically will eat them as well because they fall into the zooplankton category.
All right, let's meet our next class. We've got Mrs. Bryant is joining us. They're grade 3s in Maine. And your microphone is on.
Hi, my name is Parker. And how long will seahorses live in the wild?
Is that where do seahorses live in the wild?
How long?
How long?
Oh, how long do seahorses live in the wild? They don't usually live for that long. So I actually, we don't know too much about the ones that live in the wild. We know more about the ones that live here in captivity, so we can figure out how old they are. It's harder to figure that out in the wild, but lion seahorses only live for about a year. So that's not a really long time for them to survive. But they do what they have to do in their lifetime. They are able to survive, have their babies, and eat the food that they need to eat.
All right, so I believe we visited each classroom once. So what we'll do is if there's any second questions, if you want to walk up to the the camera, and I'll keep my eye out for you and I'll pick the classrooms when I see someone pop up to the camera. All right, I think I see someone in Mrs. Mornin's group in Nova Scotia. Your microphone's on.
You don't have to speak. You don't have to speak.
We didn't hear the question, Mrs. Mornin.
Hear it.
Can you guys just turn your microphone back on? I think you might have turned it off on your end.
Okay.
Do other fish raid the seahorses?
Do other fish something them?
Ray.
Weigh them?
Attack them.
Oh. Do other fish prey on them? Yeah, a bunch of them do. Again, when they're small, they're really easy to swallow whole, so pretty much anything will eat them. So these guys, if you look at my finger, there we go. They're still pretty small, and I have pretty small hands. And when it comes to the larger seahorses, they don't get predated on as much, but types of fish, if they live in their habitat, will try to eat them if they get the chance. Because they're slow swimmers, they're easy to swallow whole, and once they're hidden, they're hard to find. So most fish like to hunt something that's moving, and because they're hidden, like the ones down here in the grass, they're hard to catch. Probably don't want hiding on either. You won't look there for food. So if they're up here swimming when trying to catch food, then they might. But only if they can swallow them whole, because if you're not eating the whole seahorse, the armor is pretty hard to bite through.
All right, I see someone joining us in Mrs. Bendo's class. Let me turn your mic on and see how it's going for us. Can you try coming closer? We can hear you, but it's just very quiet. I got that. Do seahorses float when they sleep, or do they sink?
Do they float when they sleep, or do they sink? So there's a good, to be completely honest with you, the word sleep is not well defined in the scientific community. So we like to use the word rest, and they usually rest with their tails wrapped around this, well, this is just fake seagrass, but in the wild they'd wrap around anything in their area, and that's how they would rest, because they feel safe that way. They don't always get looked after by another. And these guys don't have much of a defense other than camouflage.
All right, good question. I see someone in Mrs. Bryant's class at the camera, so your microphone is on.
My name's Haley, and we have a question for you. What is the biggest and the smallest kind of seahorse?
Could you hear her?
Did you get that, Danielle? What's the
No.
biggest seahorse and the smallest seahorse?
What's the biggest seahorse and the smallest seahorse? So we already met the smallest, that's the dwarf seahorse. And the largest, we're not exactly certain of that right now, but the largest one we've ever had here, I would say would be the Leafy Sea Dragons, because they have just so many extra protrusions from their body. So they have a whole bunch of parts of their body that stick out. So it's kind of like having a whole bunch of warts, but they're really pretty and they look like leaves. Sea dragons have the same sort of thing, but they look more like weeds. And it just helps them camouflage in their habitat. They're very delicate.
Okay, I see someone in Mrs. Mullen's class. Your microphone's on.
How long do seahorses rest?
How long do seahorses live?
Rest.
So, rest? Oh, well, if you're a seahorse, I would say that you would probably rest for most of your life unless you're eating food. Because there's a lot of energy that goes into not having a stomach, because you always have to eat. And you always have to be afraid of having predators in your area. So I would take any chance that you have to rest. So there's a whole bunch in the seagrass here that are just taking time to rest, active to begin with, so they don't need too much rest. So if you're not running time anyway.
All right, Danielle, you just blinked out. Can you still hear us? All right, I can see someone in Mrs. Coates' classroom, so we'll give you guys maybe the final question. Go ahead, I'll turn your microphone on.
Okay, so what's a seahorse's favorite food?
I did not catch that.
What's a seahorse's favorite food?
That was, what's a seahorse's favorite food?
What is a seahorse's favorite food? They love live food, and Kaitlyn's saying it's live brine or live mysis, and those are both shrimp-like animals, so they're small. And there's shrimp-like animals. Kaitlyn's gonna see if she can find some for us, and she'll show us some. But these guys, they like the chase, and they like to suck in the food. Remember, that's called snick. And the really funny thing is some of our other seahorses are actually really picky. So our sea dragons actually have to eat live food because they're so picky. And we have to watch them eat. And it's funny and at the same time very tedious to watch them because they are slow at eating. And they suck the food right in. But these guys are very active eaters, so they're going to come around and we don't have to watch them because we trust they're going to actually eat.
All right, well, maybe we'll squeeze one more question in from our group in Wisconsin. I can see they're back up at the camera, and they haven't had a second go, so I'll turn on their mic.
Do any cultures eat seahorses?
So, do any cultures eat seahorses? And I like to answer that question the way I answer it all the time at the aquarium, which is anything is edible if you try hard enough. So people eat jellyfish, and that would be my go-to of anything that would be really difficult to eat. So seahorses are most often used in other parts of the world as part of medicine, and that's the most often trade form that humans will use. And it's really not common in North America. So these are North America, like American, so general North and South America seahorses. But seahorses actually live all around the world, but they usually live in shallower waters that are warmer, so you won't find them off the coast of Canada too often because we're kind of a chillier area in the world. But there are some in so many different areas, and certain areas of our world do happen to use seahorses as part of medicine. We have found some mysis. Is it mysis French? Mysis. Mysis in French. It's a combination. And you
All right, looks like we
see them
froze up.
moving around, so they're alive. Those are mysis and brine shrimp. Did I lose the video again?
We did. We lost the sound when you were just about to show us the shrimp, the mysin. And the mysis, sorry, the mysis. And then we lost the video feed as well. But that's okay because we're at about the end of the hangout anyways. And yeah, it was awesome. Thank you so much for all the questions. Thank you so much for taking us behind the scenes and showing us all the different life stages. That was incredible. So thank you very much again for taking us behind the scenes at the aquarium.
Oh, no worries.
All right.
Me.
All right. Well, I know we have more coming up in April, so I'm looking forward to those hangouts, and the teachers keep an eye out for our newsletter coming soon. But for now, I'm going to turn the microphones on and let the classroom say goodbye and thank you.
You're going to want to hear this.
Don't hear everybody.
Okay. They always do a good job of that. So again, Danielle and Kaitlyn, thank you so much for a great hangout, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.